Hi all, I have a bonus game for you today. I'm just so mega excited about it. It's Leela ID 11019 against Ethereal 10.88 against this amazing, this is part of an amazing gauntlet of games by David Grosvenor. So David is back from holiday, and this is a fast and furious time control of 40 moves every 2 minutes with a 2-second increment per move. So it starts off with a Gruenfeld d4 knight f6, knight f3 g6, c4 bishop g7, knight c3, d5 end of book. Leela plays her favourite move that we've seen before, c takes, pretty standard, knight takes, b takes, c5. Now rook b1, getting out of the way. So this is all like the Leela variation, none of this knight going to e2 after bishop c4, the knight's there, and white is more in a position to play d5 tactically here, because the rook's out of the firing line of that bishop. We have bishop e2, b6, white castles, queen c7, bishop g5, bishop b7, so typical Gruenfeld annoying central pressure. Leela is not nannying her pawn centre here. She's more interested in playing d5, potentially getting a strong central pass pawn, sacrificing c3 here, which lures the bishop away from the king for a moment. If black played e6, then white's got away with it, getting just a really nice position, bishop c4. If black's really not going to take this, or consider taking it here, then this is fine, queen b3. And this is really nice with prospects of bishop e7, d6 and bishop f7. So for example, like this is going to be quite crushing. Big advantage to white. So basically this pawn is taken. We have a key tempo gaining move on that bishop. Bishop g7, and this accelerates the dreaded Thorn pawn, which is, it seems it unveils secrets of attacking chess that even my Stockfish 9 observing this game, kibitzing, cannot find one of Leela's moves that easily unless presented with it. So that's coming soon. e6, rook d1. Leela supports for the moment to that central passed d pawn. Black plays queen d7. We see now h5, one step away from being Thorn pawn. Knight a6. Here you might think, well, hang on, can black be annoying with queen f5? I checked this out. Bishop d3 is nice here. So for example, here I think things like bishop takes g6 hitting the queen is nice. If queen g4, we can install the Thorn pawn and kick the queen here. The queen is supporting that bishop, so where's the queen going? This position turns out to be very, very nice for white, big advantage. Bishop b5 is a continual nuisance in these variations, and this kind of sequence shows it's very difficult for black, generally speaking. The Thorn pawn here is crushing, showing the power of the diagonal. This is just the fictional continuation. So let's see. So there's no real point in playing queen f5, it seems. So knight a6, h6, bishop goes back to h8, d6, so there's support now for bishop e7. We see knight b4. This looks like a bit of a pedantic move hitting a2. If we look at this position, if rook fe8, then bishop b5 is the problem. Yeah, this rook b1 not only got out of the way, the bishop is useful for supporting resources like bishop b5, and that just wins a piece there, for example, or the exchange. Another alternative, if we move the rook there, then bishop e7, and again we can force this skewers situation for bishop b5. So knight b4, we see now rook b3 offering a2. What is going on here? That is taken. If the knight went back, then white is on the way to building up an attack with queen f4. And this position, for example, with rook e3 is quite crushing. Just trading off one pair of rooks makes black's king side very, very sensitive here. For example, this variation is illustrative. With d7, this is quite crushing. Bishop c4, bishop takes. This is a real crushing variation where white's the exchange up and winning there, with prospect of rook h8 finishing the job off. soon. So black materialistically takes on a2, and we know what happens to naughty traditional engines when they're too greedy and materialistic. Queen f4 with ideas of bishop f6. Now knight c3, trying to be a real nuisance, threatening knight takes e2 check, winning the queen. Leela's not bothered by that, sacrifices the exchange to bring the bishop out and about. Now bishop f6 to try and get rid of this, well, actually getting rid of this defensive bishop across those weakened dark squares. Bishop a5. This bishop is not expressing an interest in defending his king here. So, oh dear. Now it's here, which is probably for me the most exciting analytical discovery of recent days. I have an i7 machine, Stockfish 9, and this next move, Stockfish does not really indicate on the list, basically. And it's one of those weird, we've had this before, I believe, in some example games, where there's a choice of two knight moves, and it seems as though, is Leela playing the less clinical move or the more clinical knight move? Now here, there's two knight move choices. One of them is absolutely divine, though, as far as I can see, and is not mentioned by Stockfish on my analysis. And my brother, who barely plays chess, I was so excited by this position. I really wanted to show him. I wanted to post the forums about this even before doing the video. To me, this is really exciting, this position here. If I give you 5 seconds, what knight move would you play here? So 5 seconds to pause the video, do some analysis. I'm absolutely stunned by the implications of this form pawn here. It just seems to unveil the mysteries, the secrets of attacking chess, basically. If you said knight e5, that is actually potentially a strong move, because we still have the form pawn anyway. So say queen f5, which is a nuisance move here. Queens come off. We can actually lift the rook for rook g3. This is dangerous. That can be stopped. But we still get a very, very good position with bishop g4. But not as venomous as I'm going to show you. Not as venomous as before. This, for example, black's got a big advantage. So that wouldn't actually be the way to play it with bishop g4. But bishop f3, this position, where black's being a bit desperate, ends up with a big advantage for white anyway. But what astounded me in this position was the difference this makes, which Stockfish at first thinks no big deal, like 0, then it goes to 1, and then it starts going to +5, basically. And you might think, well, what is this, knight g5? Let's not lose our eyes. Let's use our eyes. Knight e5 hits f7, and it hits the queen. Knight g5, let's go back to basics, hits f7 and hits h7. So what's more important, hitting the queen on f7 or hitting the pawn and the pawn? It turns out hitting the pawn and the pawn is actually more significant here. So we have this nuisance move, queen f5. Before getting into this, as the starter course here of this position, if we go here, rook a e8, bishop g4, and we can play with bishop f3 to avoid getting mated on g2, by the way. That was a mate threat on g2. We can take off on b7 and have this position with a big winning advantage, absolutely crushing advantage. So rook a e8 doesn't really help matters. Rook f e8 doesn't help matters either. We have the same sort of sequence where black's trying to gain a key tempo maybe, but it's just hopeless. It's pathetic. With the big threat of queen f6, once the queen's on a light square, it's hardly going to help the king, these weakened dark squares. It's just at the mercy of the white queen. So let's go to the big main course, and I hope you're ready for it, what we're about to witness. So I asked the difference between knight e5 and knight g5, and I'm absolutely astounded, because it looks as though this is a cold shower move. Take off the queens, take off the fun. You've had those opponents in your own games. Oh, they kill all the fun of the attack. There's something so delicate yet so absolutely magical going on here, in my view. Take off the queen. There's a delicate little bit of damage here, that G file, which we noticed in the other variation for the rook lift. So far, so good. So we have the rook lift. We have the key defensive move against the rook lift. What's the difference now between the knight here and here? F7, H7. There's 2 killer moves in this position because the knight is positioned on G5. 2 killer moves. Leela plays one of them, which looks ridiculous. A rook retreat. Let's go with this. What is actually threatened here with this rook retreat? This rook retreat vacates the D3 square, which becomes the source of a major threat now. Because the knight's on G5, white is threatening bishop D3 taking H7 mating. Stockfish basically crashes. This crashes the Stockfish engine. There's no reply to this. There's no reply to bishop D3 here. So Ethereal plays bishop A6. It's pure desperate defensive try. There's actually no defense, but even the position is so strong, bishop G4 with bishop F5 as well. The rook can be left on D3 for this magic trick. D7 here, and then bishop F5 to follow. Yeah, it doesn't matter about the check. We've got H2. What is black going to do against bishop H7? It's mating, isn't it? That's going to get mated. The wonders of this position. It's absolutely magnificent, in my view. If we look at this, rook G3, once we get that rook left in, we get knight E6 to stop the king going to F8. That's mating. The king's not walking to F8 there. This position is just magic, because we're basically causing a delicate pawn move, which all of a sudden unleashes H7 exploitability is activated once F4 is played, because this bishop can then help the G5 knight. Check this with your own engines, people. Check out if your engine finds knight G5, or does it choose knight E5 in that critical position? Let me know in the comments. I'll be really interested in this analysis test, because actually the implication here goes beyond opening novelties based on form pawns. We're talking major tactical analysis influenced by form pawn, THORN, form pawn implications in analysis. Just bog standard attacking analysis, which the engine is getting wrong. This position is totally busted for black. So, yeah, rook D1 with the threat of bishop D3. If we look at C4, we can just snap that off and renew bishop D3. For example, this position, we're just renewing this bishop takes H7. Just to put it on the board, just in case you want to see the aesthetics of it. Look, the bishop, checkmate. So yeah, bishop A6. This is just materially winning for white after this. This is just desperate. White's still got a crushing position anyway, as well, with that D pawn. Not only just material advantage now, bishop and knight for rook, but this D pawn's absolutely gigantic. And if you look at some of the most famous Kasparov games, which he's annotated himself, he said he's often had a simple plan of pushing the D pawn in. I remember 1 or 2 of his Gruenfeld games. That became Kasparov's favourite plan. It seems it's Leela's favourite plan here. So this D pawn is just winning. Basically, the game ended here. If rook E8, check. Rook G8, yeah, just to follow it through to a checkmate sequence. I'm absolutely stunned. This is beyond like Stockfish line. This use of the form pawn, knight G5. Maybe give better hardware than my machine or more time, and it will find knight G5 as opposed to knight E5. But that analysis to me is a thing of beauty, this discovery in this game, that I want to share with you today as a bonus game. I hope you enjoyed it as much as me. And please let me know if you analyse the position. Do you find knight G5 with your engine? Okay, thanks very much. Comments, questions, likes, shares appreciated.